With the recent developments in the manga, it has become clear to everyone that Gojo wasn't quite the man both we the readers and those of the Jujutsu Kaisen world thought he was. He wasn't the strongest, because the strongest doesn't lose. Gojo lost, he died, and with that it became an undeniable fact that Gojo was not the strongest, that even without 10 shadows, Sukuna could have still beat him. This loss shatters the illusion of the strongest. It makes us all finally see the truth, that Gojo isn't just the strongest, that he is human underneath all that he can make mistakes, and that like all humans, he isn't truly selfless. Like all of us, he is immensely selfish. As isn't that what JJK is all about living your life no matter how short it is, in a way that makes you happy. Jujutsu sorcerers rarely retire because most die during duty. They don't live long happy lives. They give up their lives to protect non-sorcerers. Something Geto comes to despise as a concept. He argued that one's precious life shouldn't be wasted in service to others, whereas characters like Yuji find purpose in their short lives by helping others. However, what about when you don't need to worry about death? When you have an ability that literally repels any attacks on your life? In that case, can't you do both? Fulfill your duty to protect others and live a happy life fulfilling your own selfish desires? As Nanami says in the afterlife, Gojo just did it for kicks, that fighting to protect others wasn't his primary motive for being the strongest. And well, as much as you may hate to accept this, that is correct, because he didn't need to make protecting others his priority, because as Geto says, he is the strongest, he can do anything. He does it for kicks, he does it because he wants to enjoy the fight. Think back to his fight with Toji, he says it himself, that he doesn't feel a want for revenge or sadness over her death. Instead, he just feels ecstasy of having gotten the truth of cursed energy, of becoming in a way enlightened, becoming truly the strongest. He fights with a smile on his face, as that's what he comes to desire more than anything, to find someone equal in strength to have fun. Geto was special grade like him, his best friend, but after the incident with the Plasma Star vessel, it went from the two of them being the strongest to just Gojo being the strongest. He eclipsed his friends in power, the only person he can stand alongside, and ascended to a higher plane of power. Could he have immediately killed Jogo using Unlimited Void? For sure, and although yes, you could argue he instead wanted to try get information, it's clear Gojo was also having fun. Which is fine, because in the end he will still win, because he is Gojo. Yet does he? No. Jogo, even if just ahead, escapes. We may not notice it, but Gojo doesn't always triumph. Maybe in the end he always wins, but along the way, he really doesn't. As he never was infallible. The cracks of his humanity were always there, we just chose to ignore them. Take in Shibuya when he says that he is sorry he can't save everyone, but he will in exchange exercise the special grades. This is perhaps some early foreshadowing of both the fact Gojo can't save everyone, that he isn't actually the strongest who can do everything, and also of his true desires to fight strong opponents over saving lives. In the afterlife after his death, we hear Gojo talk about Sukuna, how he feels sorry for him, that Sukuna couldn't give it all he had in their fight, that he couldn't give the King of Curses the same fight he just received in turn, that he is no stranger to isolation himself. As Gojo explains, he is like a flower, admired, but never touched, not understood. There is a gulf between him and others, Unlimited Void, and it's all because of his power, because whether he likes it or not, he is above everyone. Maybe the reason he became a teacher was to try foster new bonds with people. Teachers are meant to be stronger and more experienced than their students, so it's the one time he can be stronger than others, yet at the same time not have that serve as an unnatural gulf. The reason he wanted to make others surpass him was so he would once again not be alone at the top. He says Yuta, Hikari, Yuji, Megami, that all these people could one day surpass him, but in reality could they? I think this is just his optimism, his desperation, his need for someone on his level. Because Gojo values bonds more than anything, it's why Kenjaku's plan to seal him worked so well, because Gojo's bonds, his bond to Geto, was the most important thing to him. After all, what was Gojo's only regret? It was that Geto wasn't there to slap him on the back before the fight. Yet, as we already said, those bonds vanished and Gojo was left alone, not able to form new ones because of the gap between him and others, and so all he was left with was his power, which he pushed to its limits, allowing infinity to be used at all times and then being able to even defend from poisons. He fully embraced being the strongest, and this is where the parallels with Sukuna become so clear, as didn't Sukuna do that too? Didn't he become the strongest for his own selfish desires? As well, isn't selfishness highlighted as true jujutsu sorcery? Gojo tried to reach Sukuna through their fight, tried to form a connection with him, the only person strong enough to stand on Gojo's level. But ironically, it turns out Gojo himself was the one who was too weak to connect to Sukuna. The roles reversed. Gojo gave it his all, his everything, but it wasn't enough. He failed because he was never truly the strongest. That was just a convenient excuse to make himself feel better. As he says, he couldn't make Sukuna understand, but that someone will. And well, in my opinion, that's got to be no one but Sukuna's biggest flaw in the story, Yuji, but this is not a speculation video, so we won't go any further down that line of thought. Gojo says that in the end he had fun. His words never reflect any thoughts of what will happen now he is dead, about the safety of his students or the future of the world. All he talks about is the fight, and how much he enjoyed it. As he isn't perfect, that is just what the world sees him as. Funny enough, it's only once he's dead, once he has literally escaped the world and its expectations, that we get to see the real him. That face he makes shows his confliction. Knowing what Nanami says is correct, and realising how bad that makes him look. I've seen people call this a character assassination or bad character writing, but I feel those people are just falling for the same Gojo propaganda, the illusion the whole Jujutsu world saw. They see Gojo as not just a normal guy, but as the strongest, as a Gary Stu, as someone who can do anything, so to have it revealed he wasn't so selfless that he didn't really stand a chance. It destroys everything we believed about him, because those things weren't true of Gojo, they were true of the image of the strongest. Because at the end of the day, as sad as it is to say, this fight gave Gojo's life purpose, it fulfilled him. If the series is about people discovering their own desires and living happy lives, then is this final fight not Gojo fulfilling this desire of his, having had fun? This links back to Yuji's first motive at the start of the series, to discover the meaning of a true death. Although the series hasn't given us a definitive answer to this question, the fact Gojo died while having the time of his life, well, can that not be called a true death? Yuji's grandfather said you should die surrounded by those who love you, that it's sad to die alone, and in a way this can be applied to Gojo too, because death isn't so simple, not so easy to define. However, in Gojo's own words, it wasn't that bad a death, at least he went out on his own terms. Dying happy, having finally gotten to once again not be the strongest. After all, the word strongest became synonymous with Gojo Satoru, but in this fight, that wasn't the case. He for the first time wasn't the strongest, but just Gojo. Also, look at what Sukuna says to Gojo. I'm sorry, Jogo Tards, but you're finally going to have to accept Gojo would at least give Volcano Head a high diff fight. And if you want to support this channel even further, then perhaps pledge to my Patreon or become a channel member so you can get your name at the end of the video, like Hikari Desu, Rinjak9696, General Tonyos, Mr. Sputum and Matthias Rowett. So with all that said and done, I've been Seth the Sin, the Deadly Sin of Geek, and I'm signing out. Stay safe, everyone.